you go to coins, they've all been discounted, some of them 95%, some of them 90%. Even Ethereum is down significantly, although the bounce has been just absolutely awesome on Ethereum. Well, we also got to discuss the time frame. So
we do.
Yeah, so like I would say we don't break the lows in the next 12 months, and then that basically you do it like that. Or so. I mean, I think that I definitely think there's always a chance that that's correct. I mean, we just never know for sure. My few things that bother me about the potential low being in is that we still haven't seen enough disruption in the overall crypto market. So you go to coins, they've all been discounted, some of them 95%, some of them 90%. Even Ethereum is down significantly, although the bounce has been just absolutely awesome on Ethereum. But to me, I look at that sector and I'm like, how can this many coins still exist? And if this is the bottom and now we're headed up, how does that work? How do we have so many coins in the system at that point? So for me, that's one of the issues. And also looking back and comparing it to the .com era, you haven't seen that full capitulation. I mean, we did see fear when we were below the 2017 highs, but we didn't see that all out, like throw your hands up in the air, crypto's over kind of mentality, which is usually what notes the bottom. In fact, 2018, that was very similar to what we saw. We saw this kind of, oh my goodness, Bitcoin no more kind of thought. And then that was the bottom at 3,500. So that's an issue. And then my other issue would be is even though I do think the Fed, like you said, is going to essentially stop hiking by later this year and probably even start easing in 2023, the question is, why are they doing that? And my guess is you're starting to see a real destructive event going on in the economy, right? And if you see the NASDAQ starting to really collapse down, and I don't think the NASDAQ's bottomed by any stretch, I think it's got to go down 40, 50% at minimum, then what you're saying is that you'll see a pivot in Bitcoin where it starts to strengthen when the NASDAQ and the stocks actually go down, which I actually agree eventually that happens.
Yeah.
I just don't know if this is the time frame where that happens. So I think that, it's definitely a possibility. If there's one thing, just like Game of Thrones, if there's one thing I know nothing, kind of, know nothing, Jon Snow, right? You have to respect the charts, that they're the ones that are always right and you just don't know. But for me, I'd be amazingly surprised if all of a sudden it's the new bull run and here we go to the upside. Now, I will show this. I do have a level that I'm watching. If we take out this level and confirm, then I would tend to agree with you on that, right? So if you connect the high from 69,000 here to this high, notice how this line is right around 30,000 right now. It will slope down right into this 28,000 area, probably in about a month or so, right? Now, if we somehow get above that, then that is a breakout on the charts. That would get my attention. And I think that would be the one case where I would say, okay, now I actually kind of do believe that the bottom is in, and now we could go back to 69, 70, 80, 100,000 on Bitcoin. But until then, we're still in a pretty steep downtrend. And really, if you look at this move, even if we go up to 25, 26, or even 28, that's all an inside bar bearish pattern from this move down, or better yet, even from this move down. And the last thing I'll just mention is that I still have a measured move where you take this high here to this low here, right? And then you had this consolidation pattern, right? So we have this kind of sideways channel. And then if you take that same distance from here and you extend it out, you actually get right around 12,000. So this line is the same as this line, and that gives me that kind of bottom area. So again, anything can happen, and that's the beauty of investing and why it's so freaking fun.
Of course.
But for me, I'll take that opposing bet. I still think we're going to 12, 13,000. Unfortunately, I even think there's a chance we could go lower, but let's take one step at a time. That is absolutely contrarian viewpoints. I mean, one of the reasons why I was starting to talk up a bounce, so everyone knows I called for 20,000 when we were at 69,000. one of the reasons, I mean, there were chart signals, but there was also just so much crazy bullishness that it was almost the easy way to go, which was just say, okay, well, if everyone's bullish, then it's not going to go that way. And same thing when we were below the 2017 highs of 19.5 or so, you know, everyone was just like doom and gloom. And it's like, okay, well, now we're due for a bounce. We're oversold. Right. They've run the stops, which were at 19.5, which was a 2017 high. It made sense that we would see a bounce there. So the question is, as we rally, like when we see 26, 28, like you're saying, which I think we do see, do we then see everyone start to say the bottom's in, which then the contrarian view would be, right now, what do you have, about 20,000 cryptos? I mean, you can't tell me that. I mean, in reality, that's even more stocks than there are in the whole entire stock. But I think what I'm saying is that you still have people that are willing to take the risk by putting money in those. Yeah. And I think that money has to be wiped out. You know, so I think that, you know, you may, you know, maybe the top 50 survive, maybe, you know, who knows, you know, and there will be new ones that have great use cases that come out, just like new companies come out all the time. But I want to see that period where anyone speculating on the 1,001th cryptocurrency by market cap, that needs to be wiped out. That can't be in the system anymore unless there's a real use case to it. And people will argue there is, right? Oh, this one is about cats, or this one's about dogs, or like, you know, and for me, I'm just like, really, you know, we're in the real world here where you actually need to have some sort of use case that's legitimate. Okay. So, listen, me too. I mean, listen, and listen, I'll be the first to admit I'm not always right? I mean, I've made plenty of bad calls in my career. I just happen to be right more than I'm wrong. I mean, that's just the essence of it. So, I mean, you just try to do that and then you'll be fine in your investing career. I mean, for me, I need to be right more than that because I tend to lose more on my losers, you know? So like I bat about 80%, so 8 out of 10. But you'll notice that on my 2 losers out of every 10, I probably lose like 1.5 versus, you know, the 1 that I gain on a winner. So it knocks out about 3 total. And so I'm gaining about 7 out of every 10 with that. Oh yeah. I mean, at this stage of my career, I've been smacked around and slapped around enough to not be too much of a cowboy anymore. Yeah, so gold has been really, really interesting to me. Somewhat of a surprise, right? So I've been on the gold bandwagon since basically we pulled back to this downsloping trend line around just below 1800. We find ourselves just above 1700. I didn't honestly think it would go below here. The dollar is partially to blame. The dollar has been so strong, so strong. But what's kind of bothered me in recent days, the dollar has pulled back and gold hasn't caught a bid. Now, on a technical basis, right? So we took out this line. Let me remove it. Basically, on a technical basis, what I'm now following is this line here. This is the epic line around 1680 or so, 1675. To me, that needs to hold. I will be very concerned if we break below it and start to trade below that line. As long as we hold that line, I think that for the most part, you still have this big move up, and then this is all that sideways chop inside of that move. So I think for me, that's the big thing I'm watching right now. Yeah. I mean, right here is where it started, but then you hit here and here and here, and you're getting close to it over here. So yeah, I mean, it's hit multiple times, which does mean this is weaker. But one of the things in TA that's important to understand is that the longer you stay away from a line, the more it firms up. So I would expect another bounce. So if you look at how long it's been away from this line, from here to here, this line has firmed up a little bit. So it will still be support. But again, if it bounces and then hits it again, my guess is it does break at that point. So I'm really focusing on this next hit, if we get there, as being a really important one where we bounce and we need to start heading back up.